Ed and Eddy was a cartoon broadcast to the United States from 1999 through 2009 for a period of slightly more than 10 years. But during that time in early seasons of the cartoon, the character of Ed was someone who, as depicted in early episodes, was someone whom had a wild and sometimes dangerous imagination. In Season 2, Episode 5, Who Let the Ed In, had the Eds dealing with their latest attempt at a scam, and then being hard at work with this scam, but eventually Ed begins to do other things. When this attracts the attention of Double D and Eddy, they assume that Ed is just playing around, and that they assume that he's just being careless. Apparently, Ed is with his new friend, this friend being Jib, which is Ed's imaginary friend, and throughout the course of the episode, Jib seems to do everything better than Eddy. Even when the other children in the cul-de-sac are introduced to Jib, they seem to like him, and they find out about the fact that they're very open-minded with the concept of Jib being an imaginary friend to Ed, and everyone actually seems to have a brilliant and great time with him. Eventually, due to all of the attention that Jib gets, Eddy gets jealous of all of the attention and respect that Jib has earned, and forces Jib to leave Peach Creek to never be seen again. What's interesting is that there are some facts about this particular episode that made it unusual when compared with the normal episodes or even the other episodes of the series. The fact that the episode is set in the playground of the cul-de-sac is interesting in the details that Jib was seen in the playground more than other locations. Another fact is that in the playground, Eddy asks Ed for a saw and he searches the toolbox for one when there is actually one on the ground besides the both of them, but neither notice it. The fact that the concept of imaginary friends in Jib is explained to Johnny 2x4, but he doesn't seem to know what Eddy or Double D is talking about at all. It's seemingly all due to the fact that they consider Plank to be an imaginary friend as well. Yet another fact is that Nas wasn't introduced to Jib when all of the other children in the cul-de-sac were at that time, but later on when Eddy is challenging Jib, she acts as if she had already knew him like the other children had. Another fact is that during a scene with Jimmy and Sarah, Kevin rides up to them on his bike and actually squashes Jimmy's foot with his front wheel. Jimmy doesn't make any noticeable reaction of pain and actually just ignores it, when in fact in other episodes he gets injured easily. Some fans have even mentioned that Jib should have returned at least once later in the series. Some sort of expected this to occur, but tragically it never did, as Ed mentioned that his job was done here during the end of the episode. The send-off for Jib was something sentimental among the children and noticeable in the fact that Johnny didn't look at the bus as Jib left, as he was whispering something to Plank. Consensus were, at the time, viewers had assumed that he was trying to reassure Plank that the only other imaginary friend who had ever been in the cartoon was going somewhere else in a good way. All of these odd details were noticed during the broadcast of that particular episode and discussed online through fans of the series whom had later recollection of the episode in discussion. Viewer responses to the episode had it further being one of the best in the entire series, due to the relatability of Ed to Jib, the imaginary friend, and how the other children were so accepting of the character, the imaginary character, which is most important to remember, of Jib. The character of Jib and relating details to the episode are actually so much searched on YouTube that Jib is one of the top 10 search results relating to Ed, and Eddy. Sometimes a character can be forgotten even when fans clearly remember them.